Let's get the dialogue going, the back and forth. I've always considered this or likened this to religious MMA. Since the advent of the internet, that's really what it is. It's religious MMA. I remember the first time I saw the UFC. I never saw anything like that before. A boxer against a wrestler, a sumo wrestler against a karate guy. They honestly wanted to see what was the best martial art. And it was so intriguing. Fast forward, 25 years? This was, in 1993, I believe? So fast forward to 2019. Virtually all MMA fighters look the same now. Why? Because they've been able to really come to a consensus on what's the most effective martial art. How? By physically, I guess you could say, dialoguing, by putting it to the test. In other words, what people do nowadays with these long-winded monologues on YouTube, speaking for 3 hours, nobody checks their facts. Nobody makes sure that what they're saying aligns with Torah or Mishnaic literature or source material. And by definition, they never improve. They never change. I think that's akin to martial arts before MMA. People were going through the motions, right? Karate guys are fighting karate guys with their own system of points. But that doesn't work in the street. I remember growing up, elementary, junior high, everyone's like, oh, that dude knows karate. Like, damn, karate. Like, Karate Kid. Like, karate, come on, man. I mean, nowadays, it's proven that it's not an effective martial art if you want to win fights in the streets. What's most effective nowadays? In terms of martial arts, apart from, I know we're talking about religion here, but I would say jiu-jitsu, right? Jiu-jitsu with the combination of shoot fighting and kickboxing, but all these ancient traditional styles with rules. I mean, I know Bruce Lee tried to be the first. I think he was the first to try to mix martial arts up a bit. So that's what we do here every Thursday night, every Monday night. This is the UFC of religion. And this is why I really make such a huge attempt to dialogue with other teachers. And there's many of them that are gracious enough, courageous enough to dialogue, to let's just put what you believe to the test. The debates that you guys see in my channel, this is the UFC of religion. I've adjusted what I believed because of all these discussions. I've discussed Torah with very knowledgeable people. And you know what, even though I may in some way come out on top in all these discussions, I always learn. And then when I hear them talk, I'm like, damn, I'm glad he didn't ask me that question. Right? And then I sort of pick and choose here. And that's what we do. At least effective martial arts. You take a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and then you remember G.I. Joe? There was,
yes.
You remember that they took like the DNA of like Napoleon.
All the rumors. Yeah.
Right? And they...
Serpentor.
Right.
Yes.
Serpentor. Yes. That's what I'm talking about, Serpentor. And Serpentor didn't like Cobra Commander, remember? He kind of like kicked him to the side, and then he was like, I mean, he came back. Cobra Commander came back, and he destroyed Serpentor. But anyways, Serpentor was made up of the DNA of the most violent, most dangerous men in history. Him and Sergeant Slaughter would go at it.
Right.
This is akin to what we're doing here. We should all strive not to put ourselves in some box. I mean, unless Torah itself places you in that box, but I think Torah is a lot more colorful than we give it credit for. It's a lot more flexible. Many times when I dialogue with people, what really pisses me off the most is demagoguery. Right? They're like, oh, you don't believe this? Oh, well, this puts you in that box. You're a heretic. I'm like, wait. If the Torah doesn't teach either way, then what's the drama for? It's like, oh, well, nobody teaches. No one's going to agree with you with that. See, that's the thing. That form of demagoguery only works around other religious people. If you're dialoguing with some secular, atheistical college kid, I mean, he doesn't care. I mean, he just wants it to make sense. And if you're discussing religion, he wants it to make ethical sense. Because he'll say, well, I could create an ethical society without the Torah. I mean, if you're stuck on these dogmatic ideas, right? I've heard many rabbis online that they're stuck on midrashim, on folklore and legend, and they're trying to justify that to some college kid. I mean, they're very inquisitive, they're very intelligent, and they want religion to be meaningful and purposeful. And apart from justifying Torah, there are some parts in Torah that aren't that easy to justify. On top of that, you're going to try to justify folklore and legend, things that are optional to believe. So it seems like the only people you end up convincing are people who are already convinced and perhaps were too lazy to become religious. So now you told them that if you break Shabbat in this life, you're going to become an invalid in the next life. And they're like, heck, I want to keep Shabbat. Right? You tell a woman your kid's going to be born with health problems if she doesn't cover her hair. Right? I mean, they scare people into being religious. In other words, they make them superstitious, which is probably the dumbest thing you could do. Some people say that it doesn't really matter why you do what you do as long as you do it. From my perspective, doing Torah makes the world a better place, but I think it does determine how long will you remain religious. And the thing is, those people who become religious for a little while because they get scared into it, right? Like not just to bash on Jews, but even Christians, when they meet people on the street, the first thing they say is, if you die today, do you know you're going to heaven? Right? Right. And so the person's like, oh, hell no, I'm going to heaven. And then they accept Jesus right there and they become holy rollers. But come 2 or 3 years, they drop it and they fall even lower than they were. Was it really worth it? Right. And not only do they fall, well, they bring down people with them. I think is important what foundation we give to people. I'm really in a quandary. I'm thinking, I used to encourage people to go to their local Orthodox synagogue and, pursue conversion there. I mean, I still do it, but I'm thinking like, oh, damn. Anyone who's seen Last of the Mohicans, the French guy at the end, he makes peace with the British people, right? And then he lets them go home. Yeah, but then he like meets up with Magua. And then he tells them, just like whip their butt. And he's like, why are you doing this? Because I'm going to have to fight these people later. So you take care of them for me now. So I was thinking, like, I'm encouraging these people to convert through ideologies that are contrary to mine. And I'm just going to have to debate them later. I'm not the only person who teaches like this. There's actually a lot of people. They just don't.
They're not vocal like yourself.
So Rabbi David Bar Chaim, for example, he's very intelligent, but he's kind of boring to listen to. You know what I mean? But I mean, he tries. He's appealing to people who are intellectual. Some people like that slow talking jive, but he's not charismatic like Rabbi Mizrahi. Rabbi Mizrahi is like that uncle that at a party around 2 a.m., I mean, he just starts telling jokes. It's just like, yeah, tell me another story. It's called The Power of Gab.
Right.
I don't got that. I mean, I'm more like, I read a lot.